Hello, thank you for having me along. I'm the last person between you and the bar, so I'll try and be reasonably brief. I don't know whether it's a keynote speech, but I wanted to talk to you about some of our experiences on the BBC News website around engagement and so on. So that's what I'll do. I'll say before I start, I learnt a salutary lesson about what to say at conferences at Cardiff University when I rolled along and gave what I thought was a very candid rundown of just how bad it could be at the BBC and some of the issues that we had. And afterwards, the Vice-Chancellor, or whatever he was, said, very interesting, it's part of the coursework that everybody writes a blog about the speeches, so that was very interesting. Shit. On the train home, I sort of had a quick look on Technorati. There was already one up already, and it said, today we had Pete Clifton, the head of News Interactive, to talk about the website. It's really interesting, talked about the challenges and their plans. But the best thing about Pete's speech was ... So I thought, that's interesting, I'll click on it. Went through to the main blog. The best bit about Pete Clifton's speech was the number of times he said fucking bollocks. So I shall try and rein it in a little bit today. I've tried to sort of pitch this just about stuff that we've done. Some of it will be blindingly obvious to some of you, and forgive me for that. But for others, I hope it's interesting, and we'll get through it as quick as we can. What I was really talking about, the mountaintop, wasn't, I'm not going to talk about Everest or anything, or Snowdon, but really, the BBC of old, and even in my younger day, was where we all kind of gathered very happily around the TV, and we're very grateful for the 9 o'clock news or the 6 o'clock news, and tugged our forelocks, and thank you very much BBC, and away we went. Of course, it's not quite as simple as that. There's always been ways to write and so on and engage with the BBC, but it's very much us pronouncing what was going on, basically, and just sit there and listen. And what I'm really talking about is the news website and my experience of that. It's been going for 10 years now, and that's what it used to look like. Nice, clean, simple design. And it's worth saying that one of the reasons the news site got its legs and got going was that we did a modest set of pages for the election in 1997, and it was a very much an enclosed trial. We'll do some pages around the election, and then we'll stop and we'll take stock and we'll see where we are at that point. And as we were kind of wrapping up, Princess Diana died, and there was suddenly a surge of interest and people demanding that we did some coverage online about this as well. And not only were they interested in the stories, we had suddenly thousands of people writing their tributes, their rhyming couplets, their tributes, all those kinds of things, and it all kind of made us sit up, and we never stopped actually after that. So the news site began at that point and kind of has evolved down the years into the thing it is today. Hasn't always been that successful. One quick story I'll share with you. When I was first one of the editors on the website, we were going to have our first live forum, and we were going to say we've got a live link to Richard Branson and his mates in their capsule going around the world in a balloon. You can email us and we'll pass on the emails, and we'll have this fantastically engaging email debate with them in the balloon. 5 minutes to go before the forum, I asked the producer, okay, we need to get ready, we're going to switch over to them live and start putting the emails to them. Let's get all set. She said, well, we can't really. We've only had one email so far. I said, well, that'll be fine. If we ask one question, then others will come in. So we'll just have to dwell a bit more on this first question. She said, I don't think we can. The question is, who's got the smelliest farts? So we had a slight delay in starting the forum. Of course, the site is now more like this, all grown up, and a recent refresh making it wider and hopefully a bit cleaner in its look and feel. It's the start of a rolling process for how we will redesign the site over the next year and beyond. But this is the first step, which we launched at the end of March. And within that, we have a huge range of ways that people can engage with us. Lots of it through this Have Your Say area, which focuses a lot around debates, have people's views about things. And I'll talk a bit more about that in a while. We get tens of thousands of comments a week to this part of the site. Interestingly, it's compared with the rest of the site, by no means a loved part of the site. We do this net promoter scoring every quarter for big parts of co.uk. The news site, I'm pleased and proud to say, is always right at the top. Sport is, there or thereabouts. Have Your Say, kind of quite low down, performs badly, and I think it raises lots of expectations. People get annoyed about the comments they read on it. They get annoyed when we can't turn around all the comments that we get in. It doesn't feel like a totally satisfactory experience for people. So while we're very proud of the level of engagement we give to people around our stories, there's something not quite right about this whole approach that we've got. And we're now spending a bit more time, and I'll give you a few steers on the ways we're starting to think about how we could improve this and what really is valuable to the news site in this kind of area, and what should we maybe do a bit less of. And to give you a bit of a clue about the things that are important, we have a fantastically engaged audience, and what they really do for us and what is really important to us is where they can add to the quality of our products every day. So the debates are interesting. Talk a bit more about what we can do about that in that area in a while. But actually what we can get from our audience on a daily basis from across the world is information and insight and tip-offs, and actually very often the start of a story and not just adding to one that we've already got. So these were a couple of the early emails we had on the 7th of July a couple of years ago. These were from people in the BMA building who were looking down on the bus. And this was the first picture that we had sent. Now this came long before the Press Association sent us any pictures and became our kind of alert to there is something going on. You know, we didn't have to be particularly clever to work out there was something going on, but at this point there was on News 24 and beyond just a discussion about there's a big alert on the tubes, nobody's quite sure what it is, and London Underground say it may just be a power surge. And then we had this picture arrive with the email accounts as well, and suddenly the whole of the, not just the website, but the whole of the BBC News machine was prompted into a higher gear based on what we were told by our audience. So this has been a gradual thing. It won't particularly surprise you, but we've had to change completely the way we work in the newsroom to cope with this, and there have been step changes along the way. The tsunami was probably one. This was most certainly another. And this was the first time when people were using their mobiles, not just to text us, but also to send us really compelling images. And tellingly, the following day, the 6 o'clock news were able to lead their bulletin with all the content they'd received from the audience. So it was a whole range of video. Might have been rough and ready, but it was good enough to lead the national bulletin at 6 o'clock. So something had happened there where the quality and the breadth and the detail of our coverage was enhanced hugely, and we got content delivered to us in a way that we would never have got from anybody else. No other agency was that close soon enough to get the kind of images that we have here. And the story goes on. You know, Buncefield was the same year. News 24 in times of old would have just had to talk for an hour while a van was scrambled to actually take some moving images. But actually within 2 or 3 minutes of the blast, they had a picture that they were able to just put up and start to talk about while they phoned up eyewitnesses who were also emailing the news site. So suddenly, and it's quite an important way that the news site standing has changed in the BBC. We were kind of those weirdos on the 7th floor with slightly pointy heads. We don't really know what they do, but, you know, let them get on with it. Suddenly, we became a much more important central part of the overall BBC News operation when people realised that we were drawing in vital information for our day-to-day coverage. And though it's not part of this talk, that momentum is building and building, and within about a month's time, News Interactive, the department I used to run, will be disbanded, and it will go and break up and sit right across the heart of the main newsroom at the BBC at Television Centre, which is an indication of how, having worked for years on the 7th floor, when we might as well have been in Timbuktu, we are now going to sit and drive the day-to-day news agenda. So not before time.